A warm welcome to the final episode of the second season of SciencePunk Explains the Frame Budget Approach.
All right, so here's the plan. We're going to look back at everything we've covered in these first two seasons. We'll talk about the conceptual gains from season 1, then the methodological gains from season 2. Then comes the really exciting part. Are there any glimpses of new physics? We'll also cover the big open questions and the rules we need to follow. And finally, we'll lay out the agenda for season 3. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here we are. After 2 whole seasons jam-packed with concepts, tools, stress tests, the whole shebang, it's really time to take a step back and look at what we've built. We've poured the foundation, we've put up the framework, but now we have to ask the big questions. So what in the frame budget approach actually holds up so far? And, maybe even more importantly, what genuine research agenda comes out of it? Look, this isn't just a victory lap or a recap. It's a real, honest-to-goodness assessment. We need to figure out which parts of the structure are solid rock, and from there, we can figure out the most productive way forward. All right, let's start with the conceptual gain, which really takes us back to season 1. This is where we forged all the fundamental tools of the FBA. I mean, before we could test anything, we had to build a whole new language, right? A new way of thinking about the universe at its most basic level. And right at the heart of it all is this idea of the minimal event. The FBA just throws out that old, comfy idea of time as a smooth, flowing river. Gone. Instead, it says, look, change happens in discrete clicks. So time isn't something that just passes us by. No, it's a count of these update steps. It's the tally of things actually happening. And let me tell you, that single shift in perspective, it's the absolute bedrock for everything else we're going to talk about. So building on that one click at a time idea, we put together our whole toolbox, remember? We started talking about frames, those snapshots of what we can actually measure. We talked about the budget, which is basically the cost of making a change from one frame to the next. Then you've got channels, and the super important idea of an accounting boundary to say this is our system, and that's the outside world. What this toolkit really did for us was let us cleanly separate things like time, budget, and irreversibility. They're not all tangled up anymore. And this image here, it shows perfectly how it all comes together. Every single step, every little click from one frame to the next is treated like a strict accounting problem. The total budget for that step gets broken down. You've got a piece for external change, a piece for internal reversible change, kind of like the system's own clock ticking, and then there's the budget for internal irreversible change. And that is how we get a real handle on things like aging and the arrow of time. It's not magic. You can literally do the books on it. Okay, so that was season 1, forging the tools. Now we move on to the methodological gain, which was the whole point of season 2. This was the great stress test, right? We had this shiny new toolbox, and we took it out and threw it right into the toughest construction sites in all of physics, just to see if it would break. And man, we did not mess around. We went after the big ones: quantum measurement, tunneling, time measurement, open quantum systems, cosmology, even biological irreversibility and information. The point wasn't just to say, hey look, the FBA is compatible with these things. No way. The real test was to see if the FBA could actually reorder the problems, to see if our new tools could shine a light on them in a different way. And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway from season 2. The FBA isn't just a conceptual framework. It's a testing framework. It's more than just a neat way to organize your ideas. It's a machine for generating sharp, testable questions. It forces you to get specific. What are you actually measuring? Where's your accounting boundary? How's the budget allocated? It turns these fuzzy philosophical head-scratchers into concrete problems you can actually tackle. So we've established it's a good way to organize our thinking, and it's a great testing framework. But what about glimpses of new physics? Does the FBA do more than just sharpen our existing tools? Could it be a new kind of telescope, one that lets us see parts of the universe we've never seen before? This is where it gets really interesting. But I gotta say, this is also where we have to be the most careful. We're stepping off the solid ground of what we've tested and moving towards the edge of the map. We're asking if the FBA doesn't just describe the world we already know, but maybe points to a world that's built a little differently than we imagined. Take a look at this. This is a fantastic example. Let's talk about time dilation. The standard view is that time itself literally flows at different rates, but the FBA rereads this completely. It says, hold on, it's not about time slowing down. It's about budget asymmetry.
Think about it. An object has a total budget for each click. If it's using a ton of that budget to move really fast, then there's just less budget left over for its internal clock to tick. It's a trade-off, plain and simple. And this isn't just playing with words. This rereading has huge implications. Because when you take that budget logic and apply it to the insane conditions of the very early universe, a really powerful idea pops out: time dilation inflation, or TDI. This suggests a whole new mechanism for cosmic expansion. Now let's be super clear. This is a strong but still test-dependent working hypothesis. It's a big idea, but it lives or dies by the evidence. All right, so a good research program needs to know where it's going. Those are the open horizons. But it also needs to know the rules of the road. It needs guardrails to keep from flying off into pure speculation. Let's talk about both. And believe me, the FBA opens up a huge landscape of questions. I mean, things like, how do we really nail down relativity and the nature of space? How does one specific path get actualized out of all the possibilities? What about information and traces? And what about self-knowledge as an access problem? These are the big open horizons. We don't have the answers yet, but the FBA gives us a much, much sharper way to frame the questions. Okay, so to explore all that without just spinning our wheels, we need some guardrails. These are the non-negotiables. Number 1, time is emergent. It's not a background flow. Number 2, one step, one click. A minimal event is always a single, discrete update. 3, it's about budget, not speed. Differences are always about budget allocation. And 4, measurement is interaction. It's not a passive peak. Stick to these, and we stay on solid ground. So we've taken stock of our journey, we've looked at the gains, the open horizons, and our guardrails. That brings us to the big question: what's the agenda for Season 3? What does the blueprint for the next phase look like? And let's be really honest here. The FBA is not a finished proof, okay? This isn't some triumphal speech. But after 2 seasons, it's pretty clear this is more than just some conceptual housekeeping. The foundation is solid, and the structure we've built has held up under some serious stress. So if you take anything away from these 2 seasons, it should be these 3 things. First, conceptual clarity. The FBA gives us a powerful new language. Second, methodological power. It's a robust framework for actually testing ideas. And third, cautious discovery. It gives us these intriguing new perspectives, but it always reminds us to be disciplined in how we investigate them. Which brings us to our mission for Season 3, summed up perfectly here. We're going to start exploring the FBA's stronger theses, but in a disciplined way. We're going to ask, what's a guiding idea? What's a sharpening of our methods? What might be new physical structure? And what's still an open boundary concept? That's the plan. Push forward, but do it with our eyes wide open. And that's a wrap for Season 2. It's been an absolutely fantastic journey through the foundations and applications of the FBA. Thank you so much for joining us for this season. Bye until next season, and stay curious.